There might be all sorts of questions around this area, and let me try and lay out for you a couple of ways of thinking about this. There are some passages in the Bible which very strongly emphasize God's sovereign, overarching predestination and his foreknowledge. And there are other passages as well that you'll know of which emphasize man's choice, emphasize your choice to respond to God or not, or Adam and Eve's choice in the garden. And so we have passages on one side of the river that emphasize divine sovereignty, God's overarching control and his vision of reality, and other passages which affirm human choice. Now, I put it to you that we don't yet have an intellectual, a theological, a philosophical system that explains how the water between the two banks relates together. I think it may be different for different people, actually, and it may be different for different situations. If we understand God's foreknowledge as well a bit more clearly, it might help us. Here's how I tend to understand God's foreknowledge. If you think of a corner, and imagine the sun is shining from behind one side of the corner, and you're standing watching the corner, and you can see the rays of sun shining around the corner. Now, you see a shadow approaching the corner. You don't yet see a person walking around the corner, but you see their shadow coming. And you can see that they're just about to walk around the corner. So you can see quite clearly that they're going to walk around the corner. You can see ahead of time what it's likely they're going to do. But you're not causing it, even though you have this future vision of it. Let me give another illustration. Imagine an infallible weather barometer. A weather barometer tells you what weather is coming and how the weather's going to change. It tells you whether it's going to be rainy or sunny and what's going to happen. Now, this weather barometer is completely infallible. It's never, ever wrong. It's always right. And your weather barometer tells you, well, it's going to be rainy tomorrow. Now, the weather barometer doesn't cause the weather. It reports the weather, but it's infallible. It's right because it has clear vision of what's going to happen. And maybe we should understand God's vision and his foreknowledge of us and his predestination in these kinds of ways, where God sees what's going to happen perfectly, but he doesn't, in seeing it, cause it. He somehow leaves human freedom intact. He leaves human choice to freely choose, but he can see how we're going to choose without necessarily taking away that choice and that freedom. Now, I would have some things to say about God's general sovereign control of the world, but I think I'll pause there with those remarks. And I believe strongly in human freedom and God's sovereignty. It's deeply affirming to me to know that God has me in his hand and I'm secure in his eternal and sovereign predestination of me. On the other hand, I feel dignity because, and I feel that I'm responsible for my life and my choices to a degree I wouldn't otherwise feel, I think, if I just overemphasize God's control and his sovereignty. So I think you need both for a healthy and vibrant Christian life and normal life.